in Cavani's mock draft, his 35th pick overall was Ryan Kalkbrenner, the big man from Creighton. Guy can stroke it from deep. Huge, a great 3-point shooter. Also, I think led the Big East in blocks per game. So he does kind of give you some rim protection there. What do you make? So let's say we do go Ace Bailey, right, at pick number 3, since we are talking Ace Bailey in this episode. What position do you think? Okay, let's say Ace Bailey at 3. We re-sign Grimes. We re-sign Yabu. What position would you want us to draft at that 35th pick, or is it more just EPA?
That's tough. 30 picks a pretty good pick. It's pretty high in the second.
35, yeah.
35, sorry. You still have Drummond for one more year, unless they're just planning on just packaging him and getting rid of him. Bona looked good, but you do want a real big man. So I see why they would go Kalkbrenner. I mean, he's massive. I would still go BPA, see who's out there. Because, our roster is we're pretty deep all over at that point. We have a lot of guards. We have a lot of wings. We have a lot of bigs. I don't know what you're envisioning with Drummond. If Drummond is as good as gone one way or the other, then yeah, I could say we can go another big, especially with Embiid's health the way it is.
Yeah, I just wanted to share his mock draft here, the second round. Who would be there? So at 35, Ryan Kalkbrenner, but other guys who would be there.
A lot of centers.
Yeah. Penn State dude, the Florida guy, but Johnny Broom, the big man from Auburn.
NBADraft.net has us going Cedric Howard from Washington State.
Okay, what is he, a big man?
6'6". He's a wing.
Oh, okay. It's another wing. I don't see the other wing. Especially if we draft Ace Bailey. Do they have us drafting Ace Bailey number 3?
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah.
He says Cedric Howard. Let's see. They have Cedric Howard as the 30th pick in this mock draft.
Okay.
Just have his. Okay, so 6'5" without shoes, 8'10" reach, wingspan 7'2". There's been barely been plenty of buzz. So Coward of late with signs out of Chicago point to him remaining in the draft despite a transfer commitment to Duke for next season. Wow, he was going to transfer to Duke, huh? Interesting though. Trajectory from
7'2" wingspan.
D3 to Eastern Washington to what appears to be a guaranteed contract territory is fascinating. Interesting. So he's kind of been all over the place, man. D3 guy, you don't usually see that in that often in NBA.
Yeah, 7'2" wingspan, 8'10" standing reach. He's long.
Mm-hmm. Kind of makes sense going to Clippers so you can be with Derrick Jones.
Yeah. His comp here is James Jones.
Oh, really? Can he stroke it?
It says he's a good catch and shoot.
There you go.
Yeah. Crafty with the ball, hitting own shot without elite burst.
Yeah, honestly, I BPA at that last pick, but yeah, I like Ryan Kalkbrenner is an interesting one. I would love that. And you can put and with that you can put Bona at the 4, and you can have him as your backup, and Kalkbrenner as your backup 5. And both guys can block the heck out of the ball. Bona, anybody watched our games last year just saw what he can do. He's a rim protector nightmare, but he doesn't really have an outside shot. Kalkbrenner can stroke it. If you watch any Creighton games, man, he's got a really good shot.
Yeah. So. Hugo Gonzalez out of Real Madrid, another one.
Yeah, I don't want a guy we have to wait a couple years for,
That's probably to store away the money so we don't have to pay that salary.
Yeah, you can see that too.
I can definitely see that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, whoever it is, it might be an overseas player.
Yeah, might be. We've seen that before with Morey. We've seen some stashes that we've had over the years.
Yeah, we have a pretty full roster anyways. That guy going to even play. It's pretty tough. Our team's a tough. If we re-sign the right guys,
and some of those
minutes, man.
And some of those guys opt in. Yeah, it's a pretty deep roster.
Real tough avenue for minutes.
Yeah. Because we didn't expect Justin Edwards to be the guy that he was, right? You usually expect these like late second rounds or UDFA guys to like really hit like they did, and Justin Edwards really did. That was steal last year.
Do you buy all the people saying that either if the Spurs draft him or the Sixers draft him, he could start at 3? Do you buy that?
Probably not. I don't think he's quite there yet. He's a good athlete, but he's not a great athlete. I think he'd have. I think he's got the body to kind of hold up, but over an 82 game season, defending guys who are 30 years old, 6'8", like 235, I don't know if he'd hold up at the
Yeah.
three. Ideally, you want to probably have him as your combo guard. You could probably play point or the two. I wouldn't play him at the three. Maybe in certain like rotations it would work, but not as like a starter at three. No.
Okay.
Now with the if the Sixers were to draft Ace, I've seen a lot of Sixers fans that say like don't draft him because he's not gonna be able to start day one. That he would be below. If Oubre does opt in, he would be behind Oubre at the three, which I don't necessarily buy. But talking about his, I guess, versatility. I mean, he can play 3 and 4. You can kind of put him at both. I know 6'7", whatever. Shoes on about 6'9", so that's fine as a 4. But versatility wise, he could play couple with him at 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think you'd ideally want him at 3, but I think he could cosplay as a 4 when you need him to. Once he kind of bulks up, I think he'd be a lot more solidified there as like a modern 4. But I think to start, I think you want to bring him along slow. I don't think you want to throw all that at him because he does need some development, but you're really just like playing for the upside here. I mean, I think you'd be better off, coming off the bench for the first half of his rookie season and then kind of learning from the guys.
Maybe even all of it.
Yeah, even all of it. And by the time the playoffs roll around, he could be a key contributor, your 6th man off the bench, and then year 2, he's a starter solidified at 3.
I think having these guys, because we're a weird team. Like same with the Spurs too. We're both contending teams in Dallas. Like top 3 teams should be contending for like top half playoff seeds next year. All 3 teams should be. And that's a unique position for a rookie to be in. And I always go back to, dare I say, Ben Simmons, who talked like later on about all the pressure of a rookie to come in to a team on the cusp with a lot of high aspirations and how much pressure it was and how in a way he'd rather have played for like a bottom feeder so he could like develop his game instead of coming in being like, okay, like, I actually have to always do the right things. I have to win. Right. So that's why I'd like it if Ace just came and didn't have that. Okay. Like you're starting next to Paul George, Embiid, and Maxey, dude. You got to make it work. It's like, okay. Whereas like if he just comes in, has his role, develops his game for 15, 20 minutes a game, like I think it would just suit him so much better and take some of that pressure to have to be a key cog in the championship system off his back a bit. I totally agree with that.
And what better guy to learn from than Paul George for a guy with
the
archetype, and that's his favorite player too. So that would be a huge mentor role that
Paul. And he's a huge fan.
Yeah, and they're both fans of each other, and I think this would give Paul George the ability to kind of gracefully fade into his twilight years of his career, having basically like a younger version of himself on the court and be able to tell him all the things that took him 6 years to learn. Maybe he can learn a little quicker from a guy who's been there, done that, and the same size, same kind of archetype. So
yeah, having both of them together would be pretty cool, just to be able to, like you said, like kind of right off to the sunset, make that mega money that he's making at the end of his career while also coaching up Ace. One of the things that we talked about earlier before we came on, and Tej and I talked about it last week, was the fact that Ace Bailey gets all this kind of the hoopla about Rutgers being the face of a team that didn't even make the tournament. While Dylan Harper is sitting pretty at the number two slot. No one's saying a word about the team failing under his helm. What do you make of that, being a person who covered Rutgers? I mean, like, why is Ace getting all the blame here? I know you mentioned that both of them were out at Sapir's time during the year, but it doesn't seem too fair that Ace is getting all the blame for this from all these fans out there.
No, I mean, it's not fair. I think Dylan was the primary playmaker on this team because he was, the lead guard, and given he's a more advanced player at this point, both physically and from a basketball standpoint. I don't think either of those guys should get, if you're, cutting up slices of blame pie, their slices shouldn't be larger than 1% each. Like they were not the reason this team didn't succeed this year. We could go the short version or the long version. I'll go with the short version for you guys. The team they built around those guys was basically like a low mid-major. We got guys from like Princeton and Merrimack, and we're starting guys who had like no offers coming out of high school or like very few offers. They started 4 freshmen at one point. Lathan Somerville, the center that we had as a true freshman, he had no defensive game, so we're just getting eaten alive on the inside. And like I said, Steve Pikiell wants to play defensive basketball, and he has this big mantra, keeping teams under the speed limit, which is 65 points. And I think we averaged like 78 points allowed this year, which is by far the most he's ever allowed. So
reckless driving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a very reckless driving. So we went from wanting to keep. We were averaging probably like 66 points allowed last year. So it's a big drop off there because his system is too complex for 4 freshmen to get in and learn. So we have, the transfers that were brought in because we didn't have really great NIL they were basically useless. And that's not, I'm not trying to be mean, but these guys, we just couldn't form a team around the transfers. So they just played a lot of freshmen most of the year. And, honestly, by the time December rolled around, we were already kind of out of it. So it was I think a sign of their integrity for Ace and Dylan that they didn't kind of pack it in, which a lot of guys do when things aren't going well. So I think that's a sign of their maturity that they gutted it out. They were playing in the Big Ten tournament as we were like a 14 seed, and that we lost the game in overtime to USC. But I think they should be kind of commended for sticking it out more than dissected for the season not going the way that we would have hoped, because they were not the reasons. They were the only reason that we weren't a 5-win team last year.
Yeah.